day at cook school. We're all standing around waiting to get our orders. So the first sergeant came out and he said, "Hey guys, I got your orders. We'll just call your name out. You come up and get them." So he called my name, Private Libby, come on up here and get your orders. And I did. And it said I had to report to Fort Lewis, Washington, which is up in Washington State. And it also says Vietnam. So I guess I was going to Vietnam. So I went ahead and I had to go down to the bus station. I got a bus to the airport, and there was no leave involved. I had to go straight there. So I got a bus ticket to Fort Lewis, Washington. So when I got up there to Fort Lewis, Washington, and checked in, the sergeant he says, "Well, here's the way we do things here." He says, it was a group of us because we all went on a bus. So he says, "The way we do things here is you go into barracks, put your stuff down, don't unpack anything. Just, find a bed to sleep in because it's going to change every day." He said, "You might be here today and gone tomorrow, or you might be here today and then you're going to be waiting for a couple of days before you actually check out of here. So just put your duffel bag in a locker if you want, and lock it." It says, "But otherwise, what's going to happen is every day you're going to report here outside to a formation. And then we'll march you over to the parade field. And then at the parade field, there'll be a group of people over there. There'll be lines of people over there, and they'll tell you what to do." Okay, fine. So I got in, got my bug, went into the building, and there was a lot of people in there, a lot of soldiers already there. And one guy says, "You can sleep on the top here if you want." "Oh, okay, thanks a lot, appreciate it." He says, "But what we're going to do here is," he said, "you'll see," he said, "we've been doing this, we've already been here a couple of days." He says, "So what happens is tomorrow we'll all fall in the formation outside and march over to the parade field. And then at the parade field, they'll have people over there, and you just kind of stand around until they call your name and tell you what line to get in." He says, "That's the way it works." So, "Oh, okay, great. We can do that, I guess." So the next morning, we all fell out for this formation. And the sergeant in the formation says, "Okay, well, let's go. We're going to march over to the parade field." So it was not far away. Basically, it was like almost just across the street. He says, "Let's go over here." And he got us over there, and they said, "Okay, fall out." He said, "And this is what we're going to do. Just stand around here, and you listen to that guy up there, with the megaphone, and he calls your name out, and he'll tell you what line to get in." See, they had lines set up. First line was CONUS, then Vietnam, then Korea, then the next one was Germany, and I can't remember what the last one was, but there was another line. So, okay, that's what we'll do then. So I'm waiting I waited almost all day, just talking with the other guys who were out there. Every time they called a name, we all listened to see if it was us or not. And so finally, the day ended, and the sergeant with the megaphone said, "Okay, everybody fall out, go back to the barracks, see you tomorrow morning." Okay, fine. And that's what we did. We left and we went back to the barracks that we were staying at. And then the next morning, we would have to come back to the parade field. So during that time, they weren't just going to let us stand around or sit around and do nothing. So in the evening, the drill sergeant came over there. Well, it wasn't a drill sergeant at this time. No, it was just a sergeant, staff sergeant. And he said, "Okay, this is what you're going to do." He says, "We'll line up here and take you over to the mess hall." He says, "Oh, by the way, when you get to the mess hall, the first 8 of you are going to be KP for the evening. And They'll tell you what to do when you get there. Oh, jeez. And I was like 4 or 5 in the line. So we got over there, and the mess sergeant came out, and he says, okay, count off, 1, 2, 3, like that. And I was 7. He says, okay, this is what you're going to do. You first 7 guys here, or you 8 guys here, you go inside, and the first cook will tell you what we'll need you to do. Well, come to find out, we weren't going to be KPs. They wanted us to be servers. So we have to stand there in front of the line, the cooked line, and when the soldiers come in, we would serve them their food. So everybody put on an apron, except for me. The guy says, now somewhere in the group of you guys is a cook. Who's the cook? Of course, it's me, Sergeant, Private Libby. And he said, well, you fall out over next to the front door. And he said, the guy over there will tell you what we need. Okay. So I went over to next to the front door, and there was a sergeant there, and he says, oh, you're the lucky guy tonight, right? And I said, well, I don't know what that means, but okay, I'm here. He said, you take this clicker, and every time somebody comes to that door, you click it, count them in. He says, that's what you're going to do. Oh, okay. So he said, well, go ahead and eat first, and then we'll start that, because you guys are going to be eating before the regular troops come in. Okay, fine. So we did. We sat down. We had our meal, and then when we finished, how come this is always like this? Oh, so when we finished, we went back over to our positions, and so when the troops started to show up, one at a time, they come to the door, and I tell them, oh, next, and I would just click that, the clicker. That was my job all night. And so they didn't all come at one time. They were coming in like in waves, And so when it wasn't like in basic training or anything. So when they got there, the sergeant who told me what to do, we just kind of sat there and BS most of the time. And he kept saying, why don't you go get a drink of water or something? Get some iced tea or get some water. Some soda or something. I said, no, I'm fine. Okay, well, I'll be back in a minute. Okay. And he left, and he come back, 5-10 minutes later. I'm still clicking people in, and they're going through, and all the other guys they're servers. That's what they did. So we got all the people through, and then the next morning we had to go out. We went back to the barracks, and then the next morning we had to go out to the field again. So we're all standing around in the field again and waiting to get our name knocked off. And so again, I was there I was standing out there for 3 hours, nothing. My name wasn't called. Okay, that's it for today. See you tomorrow. Okay, so we all went back to the barracks. When we got back to the barracks, the sergeant says, they're going, are we going to do KP again? No, we're going to do guard duty tonight. What the heck's going on? What's with this, But sure enough, I wasn't in the group. The first 5 guys had to go out and do guard duty. And so when they got back, then we all went to bed and wake up the next morning, go to the mess hall, eat breakfast, go over to the parade field and stand around, wait for your name. So on the 3rd day, I'm out there, sure enough, PFC Libby, CONUS. He points to this line over here to him, it was to his right. And he says, go get in that line. Oh, okay, great. I'm finally going to find out where I'm going here. So I went and got in this line, a CONUS line. And then but my order said Vietnam. So I went and got in the Vietnam line. I figured maybe he made a mistake or something. I don't know. I'm supposed to be in the Vietnam line. So I went and got in the Vietnam line. So about, 10, 15 minutes went by, and this sergeant comes running out. He goes, is there a PFC Libby here? You're in the wrong line if you are. You're supposed to be over here in the CONUS line. Get your ass over here now. Okay, so I went over there, and he says, what are you doing in the Vietnam line? I said, my orders say Vietnam. He says, well, you're not going to Vietnam. You're going to CONUS. Okay. So I went over there. And so there was about, 15 of us in the CONUS line. And they took us all in this big, like an auditorium room inside the building. And he says, okay, here's the deal. You guys are going to be stationed CONUS. CONUS is the United States. you're not going overseas anywhere. You're going to be right here in the United States. He said, now, Libby, PFC Libby calls our names out again. And there was another guy, his name was William. There was William Love, and then two other guys. He goes, you guys come over here to this table. Okay, you guys are going to Fort Polk, Louisiana. And all of a sudden, this guy, this PFC Williams, it was PFC, Williams Love, I don't want to go there. I just left there basic training. I don't want to go back there. There's more sand there than all of Vietnam. I don't want to go there. I'd rather go to Vietnam. He says, no. You're going to Fort Polk, Louisiana with Libby and this other guy. I said, okay. He wasn't happy. So when we had to go back to the barracks and get our stuff. He gave us orders right there and get our stuff. And then we had to go to Fort Polk. That was the idea. So he says, what you're going to do is you get your stuff, bring them over here, put you on a bus, we'll take you to the airport. And then you're going to fly to Fort Polk, Louisiana. Okay, great. Sounds good. So that's what we did. Got our stuff all together and we started over there and we got on the bus and they took us to the airport. And then I get to the airport and found out that I had 4 days travel time between Fort Lewis, Washington and Fort Polk, Louisiana. I could get there in 1 day. Hell, I bought a ticket. I went home. I bought a plane ticket to Orlando, Florida, and I flew back home for 4 days. So I went ahead and went back to my hometown, had some time with my wife, who was there, my family and all, and then I would leave there and go to Fort Polk, which is next.